evening, all you minties, and welcome back to another episode of Reelz Talk with your host, the amazing Amanda, and my very lovely co-host, Wonder Maddie.
Hey, I know, the thing.
Yeah, moving around. Hey, thank you for being here today. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Wonderful. Yeah, so as you guys know, Omar is obviously in Japan right now, so I've asked Maddie to fill in for me and help me out because today premiered the first episode of Secret Invasion, which is very exciting because, you know, we haven't gotten a lot of, Marvel TV shows in a while, right?
Yeah, it feels like it's been a bit. Like, I obviously we've had movies, but like
Yes.
TV shows, I feel like it's been so long. So we've been in Star Wars land.
Mm-hmm,
it feels like for a while. Because we had Mandalorian and then we had like the Star Wars animations and anthologies and stuff. And so it's like, oh wait, yeah, duh, Marvel has shows.
Exactly.
So I feel like this show out of nowhere. I knew it was coming. But all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, Secret Invasion's happening next week. I was like, oh yeah.
Right? I know. And I know like a lot of people have been doing a lot, like there's been press, but I know with the writer's strike and now the impending, the SAG strike impending, if the talks don't go through, that a lot of people haven't been promoting as much. I know that, you know, that was some of the people blamed that on the reason The Flash didn't do as well this past weekend on its opening weekend, because there was like no actual press. And so it is weird, right? Because it just kind of happened upon us that we get Secret Invasion, which is a mini series, right? Yeah. So it's a limited series. It's only 6 episodes. And so they only showed the first episode today. And that's what we're going to be looking at. Griffin X, yes, I'm only doing the Wednesday streams. That's correct. Yeah, for Reelz Talk. That is right. Going to try to keep them up while Omar is gone as much as possible. But we have a lot of good stuff coming up too, so that's great.
I think Hayden's right. Was she out the last? Man, that feels like forever ago.
Yeah,
I was so used to like back-to-back Marvel shows.
Exactly. I mean, besides, we did have Werewolf by Night and Guardians Holiday Special, but they were specials and they were one-offs, right? So it wasn't like they were series we had to look forward to every week. And I was curious to see how if they're gonna keep with the week-to-week model. Looks like they are, but I was curious because I know people have been trying different things, and some people have been. I know one of my favorite shows that comes back tomorrow is The Bear on Hulu, and they're just dropping all the episodes. Which is not something they did before. So I was curious if people might be trying to change up their tactics or whatnot.
Maybe it seems like for this kind of for like big fandom things, it still seems like the best. And I don't know. This is me off the top of my head as a consumer, and maybe you'll feel the same. But like for these big fandom things, it seems like a week-to-week thing is better because then you get to drum up everybody talking about it. You drum up the desire to go ahead and watch it, so it's not spoiled. Like same with binging, but it's a little bit different.
Oh yeah,
like, I love week-to-week because it's like, oh man, can you believe this? What's gonna happen? You spend the whole week like talking and guessing, and like when WandaVision was happening, we're all like Mephisto for like 10 weeks. Perfect.
Exactly. MD Masoom, you're right that Echo is dropping all at once. That will be, I think, their first one. They had mentioned that, and that's not until November, I think. It's later on because we have Loki coming out too soon. I think that's happening at the end of the summer or October timeframe. Yeah, I can't wait for Loki, but that's going to be interesting how they're going to work with that one.
Yeah, that one I'm stoked for.
Me too. I really did enjoy Loki. Even if some people were not fans of the ending, I thought it was pretty unique and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so cool. I thought it was cool. I'm fine with it. Yeah,
exactly. So let's go ahead and jump in. Let's talk about episode 1, which was called Resurrection. So for those of you who are not familiar with Secret Invasion, the TV series, it is created by Kyle Bradstreet, who is best known for Mr. Robot. The director for the entire series is Ali Salim. And he's a prominent TV director. He's done Criminal Minds, In Treatment, Manhunt, 61st Street, and The Calling. So he is he does a lot of action TV series. So definitely this is probably right up his alley. And as you can tell with that first episode, I really think this suited him as a director very much so. Of course, Samuel Jackson is returning as Nick Fury, a crisis of faith. Nick Fury is what we're seeing in this first episode, which is really interesting. Ben Mendelsohn, love him, coming back as Talos from Captain Marvel, and of course that end credit scene in Spider-Man Far From Home. Kobe Smulders is returning as Maria Hill. We also got the introduction of Olivia Colman as MI6 Special Agent Sonia Fallsworth. Emilia Clarke, which we had all, I know everyone had wondered what her role was. So I was not expecting, and I should probably put up the banner right now, guys, because we will be talking about spoilers while we do our review. So this is your last warning. But the Emilia Clarke's character is actually Gaia, which is the daughter of Talos and Soren, his wife, who we also find out very early in the episode has actually died. She was killed in a terrorist attack that the rebel Skrulls had conducted under the guise as the Americans Against Russia. Is that the...
Yeah, Americans Against Russia.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so we have, that's who Emilia Clarke's playing. I know a lot of people thought she was going to be Abigail Brand. I mean, there was a lot of things happening. So really cool to see her in that role. And time frame, that makes sense. Okay, it's been like 30 years since Captain Marvel came out, or well, actually aired. Yeah. So, and then we have, of course, Kingsley Benadir is Gravik, the Skrulls rebel leader. And then we even get a chance to see Martin Freeman as Everett Ross, but he wasn't really. He was a Skrull. So I'm assuming he's alive somewhere. Maybe
I bet we'll see him some more elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was in Wakanda Forever. He should show up here too, right? Why not? And then, of course, this is what's really interesting. So Dermot Mulroney, not Dylan McDermott, is President Ritson. So it's interesting because obviously prior to this, we had the old president, right? Matthew Lewis, who was still president in like up to Infinity War. And now we have Ritson, but way back when they recasted Thunderbolt Ross, because what's his name passed away. I can't think of his name. William Hurt passed away. And they announced that Harrison Ford was going to now be playing Thunderbolt Ross. Kevin Feige said we're going to see him become president in Captain America Now Brave New World. So what's going to happen to the president here? If that
they maybe give it away too much.
Because it's like they gave it away way back when they cast Harrison Ford. So I'm interested to see. And of course, Don Cheadle made the cameo as well. So so Maddie, why don't you take us through just a quick synopsis of what this first episode entailed, and then you and I can dive in and start talking about the what our thoughts are on it.
So real quick, I was looking over to the side because as you were talking, I was like, wait, is this like Samuel L. Jackson's first like for real like main character on TV series? And it is. Like I was looking through it, and there's no other like some things he's been in there like a couple episodes or whatever, like Shield and stuff. But like that's pretty cool. This is like I guess there was like another like show maybe last year, The Last Days of, but like
yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool. Oh my god, I don't even know if I could do a quick synopsis because it's just like all over.
It's all over the place.
I had to reread it because I was like, there's a lot of like pieces.
Oh yeah,
it's different than like a lot of like opening Marvel sequences.
Oh yeah, I had to rewatch it twice too.
God,
and we'll definitely talk about that opening. The opening sequence, the title screen, the title plays, because that's interesting, and I was trying to figure out who created that. I was like, who's the artist? And then I learned more about it. And I said, oh, it's AI.
Oh, really?
It is, yeah. So for people who aren't sure, this is what I'm talking about. So these are the opening credits for.
That's why it looks like that,
and it looks so uncanny and yes, like Salvador Dali, but not. And so I had to look it up, and the director asked, Method Studios, who they've done like Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, and stuff like that before, but they asked them to use their AI tech to build that because AI is pretending to be someone else a lot of the times, right? That's how AI is.
That's cool.
So he wanted to use some type of an AI opening, which is kind of surreal, very uncanny. I was like, yeah.
I'll have to wait and see how I feel about it first, because I'm like, wait. Where'd you source your art first, and then I can decide if I like.
See, exactly. I was like, yeah, exactly.
I don't know, but if you're like, we open source, I'm like, oh, okay. But now I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, like I don't know if I like that open source. Yeah, it's. I'll be interested to see what Method Studios comes back with, because where I read, they reached out for comment and they didn't hear anything back from them as far as who they have. They have a lot of designers credited for it, but whether or not those are their original designs and it's not just AI, where they got that, I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, right, I'm gonna do my best.
Go ahead.
Quick synopsis, because there's a lot happening. But basically where we are right now, Nick Fury is in space with Saber.
Yep.
Saber is a space thing, right? He's been there for the past like 3 years. So after like he came back from the blip, he's been kind of AWOL. Like he really's kind of been out on his own doing stuff. And this is following like the backstory, I guess, is like 30 years ago after like Captain Marvel. He had promised the Skrulls that he was going to find them a new home after everything that happened. And that's not where we are right now. So basically we've created like a situation where you have some younger Skrulls. They're like, we're tired of this. We're going to make our own world. We're going to figure it out for ourselves. And we're going to make this work for us because nobody else is doing it. Yeah. And they feel like abandoned because Nick is left. So things are happening. They find out there's like Skrulls that are pretending to be, like you said, the Americans against Russia. They want to create like a kind of a fake war against the two of them.
It's like a terror. They're trying to create a fake terrorist attacks and stuff all over the world. Yeah.
And what's fun is I was reading like a recap to like make sure I wasn't missing anything. And they had a great line in here because they were saying Americans against Russia was provoking a war between the two major powers, parentheses, because we're all pretending Wakanda doesn't exist. And I was like, yeah. And so finally things, enough happens that he's like, I got to come down to Earth.
Yeah.
I've got to come back. And he meets up with our girl, Maria Hill, of course, from S.H.I.E.L.D. And he meets up with Talos.
I think Talos is, Talos. I was calling him Talos, but we can call him Talos.
No, I think it is Talos.
Talos.
But I wasn't sure if it's just like the Australian bit, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So we get back with them, and then we learn that Talos' wife has passed.
I know.
And his daughter has since sort of left because she was unhappy. She's a young Skrull, and she has joined this new movement by Gravik. Yeah. Okay, look at this. Remember,
that's right, Gravik. Yes.
And so they're just basically trying to figure out how they can get in the middle of this, how they can stop this. We're introduced, as you said, to Sonya Falsworth, the MI6.
Yep, MI6.
There's a lot of things in here.
There's a lot.
And because she's in Russia, and they're trying to figure out stuff on there, and she knows what's going on, but she doesn't really depend on Fury because he left and he's still without trauma. He's not the same. They keep saying this throughout the whole thing. He's not the same Fury that we know. And then, of course, Gaia and Talos, they reunited. Gaia is his daughter. And she has a lot of resentment towards him, but feels a little bit different after her mother passing, but there's still some issues there. And she reveals the plan by Gravik to have 3 different Skrulls carry out these dirty bombs. What's the difference between a dirty bomb and a bomb? I don't understand. I guess
I always thought dirty bombs were like man-made, right?
Oh, okay.
Man-made bombs instead of ones that they stole from like a government facility. That's what always I think.
Oh man, I don't know how to deep to get into this. I don't know.
No, that's good. No, you're right. I mean, so essentially the overall plot of this episode is now that Nick Fury's back on Earth because Maria Hill and Talos called him down there because Prescott, which is an agent that we are introduced to in the beginning of the episode, he has been realizing that he's apparently maybe one of the only people who's been realizing that all these terrorist attacks, radioactive. Oh,
that helps. That would make sense.
Okay.
We learned that Skrulls are not affected by radioactivity. Anyway,
yes, they're not. So he's realizing that all these terrorist attacks are actually being undertaken by Skrulls who are undercover. And of course, the Skrull the person he's telling us to is the Everett Ross that is actually a Skrull. Mm-hmm. So his whole goal is to stop him and keep him quiet, right? Which, of course, didn't happen, successfully for him because Maria Hill and Talos were all there. And so that's how we get Nick Fury in the mix. And they've uncovered this plot they're going to set off these bombs in Moscow, right? So, of course, MI6 is already on it. They don't want Nick Fury's help because he's changed. He's a different man. Even Maria Hill, they have a conversation with just the two of them. She's like, the Nick Fury I know is always 3 steps ahead. And you can even see in the big climactic scene at the end of this episode, he doesn't move as quick. He's kind of unsure. He does the bad thing and he follows the one Skrull who he probably should have followed the whole time. who starts out as a little girl, turns into a man. Like, you shouldn't have followed him at all. You should have known it was a trap. They're trying to lure him where he needed to be. And of course, as they get into this big arena, this big climactic scene where they're trying to find who has the bomb, we get our first casualty, which I was surprised by.
Oh God, yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean, and we know she's not a Skrull, and that was Maria Hill.
Yeah.
She goes to someone who she thought was Nick Fury, and he shoots her point blank, and we find out it's actually Gravik, as pretending to be Nick Fury, and Nick Fury doesn't get there in time, so he gets to watch this woman who's been his, one of his partner in crime since, Avengers, right?
Yeah.
Back in 2012, and she just dies right there in his arms. It is definitely not what I was expecting to end that episode with, but yeah, that's kind of how it ends. So we have this rebel faction of Skrulls who are, they want to create a home where they don't have to live disguised, right? And we do get a chance to actually enter into their compound that's in Russia, somewhere outside of Moscow. And they actually have these pods where they steal humans, and they're keeping them there alive. But then whatever Skrulls using their mind, they can take their memories and use their faces essentially, and that way they don't have to worry about people seeing them out in public and the risk of duplicity. Yeah, so you have this interesting stuff going on, but at the end of the day, they don't want to live like that. They want to live as just Skrulls. And since Talos and Nick Fury, no one's been able to help them do that. Talos was even taken off the council because of all this. So at the end of the day, they're trying to take it on themselves. Yeah, which is something that we see a lot in a lot of revolutions, right? The younger generations, they're tired of what the older generation lack of doing. So they go and take it upon themselves to make their own way and figure out a new path. And we see it time and time again in our own lives. So that's really cool that we're seeing that play out here with the Skrulls. But yeah, that's essentially the first episode of Secret Invasion. So Maddie, let's talk about your overall thoughts first, then we can dive into some stuff. So your overall thoughts first episode.
Okay, so overall thoughts, as far as first episode, there wasn't for me a huge hook. I'm interested. I'll be following where it goes. From what I understand, people who've seen that later episodes, they think that it's definitely improves as it goes along. But I'm interested, but from a Marvel fan standpoint, there's not as much I'm into right off the bat. I think when we get more into Skrull territory, I'll be more interested. Because when I think about Skrulls and what I like the Skrulls versus the Shi'ar. I like the cosmic stuff with Skrulls. And I'm not as interested in regular people like Nick Fury, which sounds awful. Because it's if I think it's good. And that's where I'm at. Which I hate that. I don't ever like feeling that way with a Marvel show. But I'm definitely intrigued to see where it's going to go. And I'm glad that they're taking a route with Nick Fury about his. I love when you deal with somebody's trauma. And I love when they address the trauma of the blip, because not everybody does. Sometimes it's the blip happened and we don't really talk about it.
It looks like background, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And they're actually going to focus on how he felt fading away. And I really appreciate that. I look forward to seeing more of just the interplay and Skrull society with Emilia Clarke. I think the big focuses, the big interest for me will be following Nick Fury and Emilia Clarke. Yep. That's those are my big draws right now of seeing where that's going to go. And seeing if maybe Nick has some tricks up his sleeve that he's not really showing. Because I think it's important to show he's weak and he's going through some stuff. Yes. But I bet he has a bigger plan than he's really letting on with other people still.
Yeah, that's something that I had thought too. Is so we know Nick Fury is the ultimate spy, right? His spies have spies. Yeah. Tony Stark said that time and time again. And I keep wondering how much of this is just a act that he's putting on for the sake of everyone around him, because we don't know what he's doing up in Saber. And Hayden had brought up, is she dead? We're talking about Maria because she's in the Marvels, and I think she is in some of the trailers, unless it's a flashback. And I don't know, because it's hard to tell.
Somebody's release
Yeah.
Everything, the releases are all off, right? Because I know some shows supposed to come earlier.
Exactly. So that I don't know where that stands right now. So it'll be interesting to see what that, if it isn't actually a flashback or if it happened before this. But we know this definitely happened. This is definitely way in advance of any other Marvel properties we've seen thus far. Because I mean, Far From Home, Soren was still alive, right? At the end of that. So we know it's beyond that. So it has to be past No Way Home and where Ms. Marvel's probably at, obviously. I would say somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's an act as well.
If they do that though, I think it'll move me up to it'll move me up a lot higher. If you do on me where he's like, actually, I was faking being upset the whole time, so you would think I was weak, so you would let your guard down, so I would do this thing. I'd be happy either way. But if they did that, that would work for me. That would work really well.
Yeah, it would. I mean, because he could still have trauma, but I wonder, is he the kind of person that would let his trauma really get the best of him?
Yeah.
As everyone else is suggesting that it has. So I'll be interested to see how that goes. But I mean, it'd be really cool. But overall, so I did like this first episode. It's definitely not so. If you like, it is the most unquippiest of quippy of Marvel things we've seen so far. There might be like a handful of quips, but not intended to make us laugh out loud, more like just make us chuckle. This is a serious spy thriller type of genre. That's what they're going for. And I definitely think in that respect, they paid that off 100%. It definitely feels that way. They're trying for a more mature audience with this as well. I can definitely see that. So for me, I found myself intrigued by the plot, where it's going. And was it my favorite first opener? No, but I think that it has room to go and get stronger. And I think that's why I'm really looking forward to seeing the next 5 episodes and where they're going to be taking it, because I like a lot of I like the idea of Talos and Gaia, the dynamics of him and his daughter. I'm really excited to see how is that going to shape up, because what does that mean for her future in the MCU, right? And I am curious, is Maria Hill really dead? So I want to find out now. And
I feel like you don't hire a big name like Emilia Clarke if you don't have a plan for her. And maybe that's, I guess that's a meta thing that's probably not helpful as a fan, right, or storyteller. But so I'm like, if you're gonna ask her to be here, you're gonna keep her, right? Because I would keep her.
I would keep her I think she's in the role itself so far. I think she's doing for this first episode, I believed her. I took her on as Gaia, and it's definitely a different role. We've seen her. Well, I guess she kind of played like an outlaw type of character in Solo, right? But it wasn't the same. I fell asleep during Solo. It's the same. This is definitely a more serious role for her. I mean, serious in this kind of regards, action thriller, and not so much historical drama pieces, fantasy drama. So I do like that about her. How would you feel about Olivia Colman? I mean, obviously she's only was in it.
I love her.
5 minutes.
The minute she shows up, like, oh yes, finally. That's a good role for her. I love anything that she does. I'm excited to see what they do with her. It'll be interesting because I feel like I do worry with MCU overall that we make it a little too what's the word? Maybe oversaturated with all of these different I'm the head of a secret little group and I don't have powers, but I'm super cool, because we have a lot, right? There's a lot that's being put in here throughout all these shows. But I won't complain because I think she's great. I'd love to see. I like her and Fury's dynamic a lot.
Me too.
I like this little playfulness they have, and I want to know more about them together as a group. It'll be interesting to see if they kind of team up a little bit later, and she's I don't know, if he includes her in some bigger plans, just because I think that them coming together would be great.
Yes, I think so too.
What about you?
No, I love Olivia Colman. So when the way she interacted reminded me very much. You've seen Mitchell's versus Machine, right?
Of course, it was a 10 out of 10, perfect.
Yeah, I know. I love that. I know. It was such a good film. But she plays the AI that basically was the one who took everything over, right? And that you can just see that tinge in there. So I know she's she's supposed to be a good guy, but she plays so well that she could be a bad guy, that you don't know where she is, that gray area.
Yeah.
She does it so well that it just works for her. And yeah, that's why I can't wait to see, is she going to be a scroll? Because I mean, we could play the game.
Oh, that's true.
Will
Yeah,
they
now we
turn
get
out to be a scroll? Will they yeah, because I don't know what they really did to prevent that attack from happening in Moscow. We like what, or did Nick
is
Fury
the
get
president a scroll? Who's a scroll? Well, that's gonna be what's fun about it too, right? Because
Yes.
like what I'm hoping for are some situations like when you watch like whodunits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, actually, this you thought was this person, but it was a scroll this time, and so that way, like these long play scenarios, right?
Yeah.
Where Oceans, like they do Oceans 11 or whatever, where like they play you back of, oh, this is what actually happened, and like first this, and like, you know, I would put that in there, but that's a little more kitschy, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know how that adds into the seriousness. I think you can make it serious.
That reminds me of like the Knives Out stuff, because that's what
I want.
Yeah, I love that stuff. But no, that would be fun, and I'm good with it as long as they don't do it to like too many times. They need to like hopefully they pick a lane and they're like, this is the person who's been a scroll all along.
Yeah, I think you leave it till the end.
Exactly. Someone said maybe Everett Ross has been a scroll all along. And I was like, I hope. I mean, you don't know. Maybe the president is a scroll, and that's how we get a new president in Thunderbolt Ross later on. I couldn't believe it. I wonder when he destroyed her.
Aren't they talking about Avengers?
Oh yeah.
Isn't like, it's not like, because she said it was Russia, right? So I assumed it was like,
yeah, I think the Avengers. Yeah, I think that's what happened. Exactly.
Is she a scroll, be the new Mephisto?
Yes, I really do think that, Tavon. I think this time everyone's gonna be like, is that really a scroll? Especially because they started off with Everett Ross being a scroll, right? Yeah. So now everyone's gonna be on their toes. Who's really who? Except for Talos. We know he is a scroll. He can't be anything else but a scroll. So we at least know we're safe with him.
So how do you feel about the question I had for you?
Yeah.
Like there's like a tone shift in here when Nick Fury's talking to Talos. He's like, I know that you've been more of a pacifist about things, but you're going to have to be cruel. You're going to have to take lives, because that's what Gravik is going to do. And he's not going to expect you to do it. That's your weakness. And they have this like this issue later, right? Because he's being attacked and Fury kills the guy. And like Talos is really upset about it. So I was curious to see what you thought about that, and like how you feel like that might like set the tone for this season.
Yeah. I think it's going to be really interesting, because they have to work. You know, obviously they're friends, but there is still, you know, Talos and Nick Fury are still two very different people at the end of the day. One was a man who's been trying to find a home for the people that he cares about, and the other has always been a spy, right? And this is the life he's always known, is, you know, doing what's needed for the greater good. And Talos is not really about that. So I think that we're going to see maybe more interactions. I would like to see more interactions like that, especially because he also has his daughter on the other side too, right? And I wonder, while in our minds, I'm thinking, okay, as it moves and progresses, she's going to eventually come to their side. But what would happen if it actually is the reverse and Talos starts to, you know, maybe agree with, you know, side with his daughter? Like, I'll be really interested to see how that all plays out because of those dynamics.
Sorry, I didn't want to click things that's yours.
Oh no, you're fine. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. We got super chat from
Super chat.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So Silhouette Animator, thank you for super chat. They updated MCU Nick Fury's profile on the official Marvel site to include Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. specific history, not a wiki, the official Marvel site. Wow. Okay. That's interesting. So that means they're making Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. canon then, which I know there's been back and forth stuff on whether or not that has been canon. So that's really interesting that they're doing that.
Yeah, that's something I need to finish. It's so long.
I will finish it eventually. Well, and a lot of people are asking for Chloe Bennett to be in here as Quake. So I should probably watch it sooner rather than later in case she does show up on Secret.
Yeah, probably should.
Yeah.
The life of like a superhero film fan
is hard. Yes. Though, I mean, here shortly with the, with the writer's strike, we're going to have a lot of time to catch up on a lot of things. So
That's true.
It's going to happen. Jack Ferry, thank you for the super chat. Which actor would you cast to portray Mephisto? Ooh. I guess it depends on the kind of Mephisto that I'm going for.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, because now I picture, I think I told you about it because I do want you to play it. Marvel Midnight Suns, they have a Mephisto character in there. It's so good. I want that. I want like a really handsome swagger to him.
A handsome Mephisto. Okay.
But I don't know who that would be. And then it would take me forever to figure out who's not in Marvel already.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the first thing I keep thinking of is if Mephisto was basically Hades from Hercules, which who is that? Dennis O'Leary? Is that who plays? No, James, what's his name? Help me out, chat. Who played the voice of Hades? I know James. I can't think of the name right now.
James Woods.
Yeah, James Woods. Like in my mind, that's how I envision.
Or you could have the Hades of Descendants 3, Cheyenne Jackson, which actually is not a bad
Cheyenne Jackson, not a bad idea.
Yeah, was he good as Hades? No, but that's not his fault. That's Disney's fault.
Yeah, that was Disney's fault. But he could be a good Mephisto. But that's the kind of like persona that I think I would go for, is that right there.
Yeah.
Yes. And Jack Ferry, I also want to get your other super chat that you also say thank you for that. Personally, for me, I generally like AI art. I'm not gonna lie, me too, because it's taking away. It's basically copying. And as someone who's also in the white collar world, and now you're starting to see AI also coming for what we do, right? Writing, and that's a lot of big thing that I do in my job. And this is getting off the subject of secret evasions, but when I get on ChatGPT and it's like, oh, I can write a sales elevator pitch for like products that I have to write content. I'm like, I don't like that. And of course it's stealing from other sources too, right? So
yeah, it's not creating anything new. It's just copying things that already exist.
Exactly.
And with art, and I'm going to be really worried with time we can't tell someone. I mean, you and I both love buying fandom art, like works of, things on Etsy or like in artist alleys and stuff. And I'm like constantly bothered and worried about it because I'm like, no, whose art did you steal from to make this thing?
Exactly.
That's why I was like, when you showed me the intro, I was like, I don't know. I'll have to know where they source their art before I can like
say I like it or not. Because at first when I saw it, I was like, I really need to know who drew this because I really liked it. And then I thought it was AI art. I was like, that does make me happy, especially when AI is like the big topic on the writer's strike and also for the SAGs, right? And if anyone hasn't watched Black Mirror's
see, that's what we should talk about.
I know we'll talk about that
next Wednesday if you want to
next we'll do it. Let's talk about. We could do Black. We'll do the
girl. We can make it 2 hours. I don't care.
Yeah, that's like 4 episodes. We could knock those out in 2 hours. We can knock out those. We'll do that next week because I only saw the first 2 episodes. Lock Henry and and the one with Joan is awful. Yes. So, anyways,
that feeds into writer's strike. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, it does, but that right there, I can't believe Netflix put that on. Actually, I can't. That's why would they do that? Like, I'm just so surprised they let that air on their thing. Yes, but a silhouetted animator said that Sacha Baron Cohen. See, that's who I got. Like, yep, someone along those lines. But take it for a grain of salt. Silhouetted animator, I take a lot of casting with a grain of salt for the most part. Like all of the Fantastic Four casting, because I don't want Margot Robbie and Adam Driver. Paul Mescal, I guess he's not that famous, and he's he got nominated for an Oscar for a random movie I've never seen. But I don't need. He was all like Kylo Ren. She's Barbie and Harley Quinn. I don't need those people.
No,
I'll go see Fantastic Four without big name people in those lead roles. So
at this point, just get somebody else. They don't fit that. Like,
no, they don't.
They have to be a little. Well, like Margot Robbie's too funny to Sue. I just don't think Sue's too that funny.
And I'm always going to like picture either Harley Quinn or Wolf on Wall Street, like that girl. That's all I always picture with her. So.
Get like an Anya Taylor-Joy type or somebody else, like
exactly.
Or what's her name from Killing Eve?
Ooh, Jodie Comer. I think we actually, yes, we
Good.
did a casting and we talked about, I think Jodie Comer was like on our list because she would be excellent.
She'd be great.
Oh yeah, she's fantastic. I loved her in Free Guy.
You said she's fantastic.
Oh, she is bad now, right? Nice. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so back to Secret Invasion. So we can kind of move on. So as far as we talked about the plot, we talked a little about the acting. What do you think about Gravik so far? So Kingsley Ben-Adir. We didn't really talk about him.
I think I need to see him a little bit more to know how I feel. I like that actor a lot.
Yeah.
I've liked other things he's in, so I'm sure he's going to be fantastic throughout. I'm very much interested in the character, and I'm interested to see how that builds out and learn more about him and sort of his like bio as like a leader, like what that looks like for him, what got him there. I want some more like overall story with him. I'm curious to see as we build it up, and just how far he'll go to. I think that's what I need to know. I need to be able to see how he balances out Nick Fury as like the antithesis. Like, are we going to deal with like two people that are similar, like different?
Yeah.
Are they going to have very similar tactics to one another? Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see him built out as like a comparison.
Yeah. And I think that would make sense. I think that might be a direction they're going because clearly Gravik was a child or a young teen when Nick Fury was helping the Skrulls, or it seems like that, like they're very close, right? They seem to be close. They seem to know each other. And he definitely has the menacing, like he does command when he's on the screen. He does do really well to command. You can see why this guy would become a leader of a resistance because he does have that type of presence. And for those who aren't familiar with his previous work, he's been in the OA, Peaky Blinders, One Night in Miami. He actually played Malcolm X, I think. And also the little Disney Plus film, Noelle, featuring Bill Hader. And,
I love it.
He was in that too.
But I love the OA. Everyone watched the OA, and then you can be sad with me that we don't have more of it.
I know. The OA was fantastic.
Thank you.
It's a shame that Netflix, that was at the height of when Netflix was just canceling things after one season. So I really liked, I think that he's doing a good job for what he's gotten so far. I'll be interested to see what kind of a villain he turns out to be because, with like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I can't remember her name, but our villain per se, by the end of it, it kind of fell off a little bit and it kind of rushed the ending. I wonder where we're going to go with him and see what happens along the way. Someone in the chat, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Masoom said, maybe all this is leading to the Kree Skrull War. Right. And we do have the Marvels coming out. And so there is a possibility that we can see that as well, maybe happening. And all this is going to play into that. Yeah. So I was curious.
War.
Yeah.
Especially if you're bringing in like X-Men and stuff again too.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued to see where he goes this. I think, and I think I was trying to figure out like why I felt like a little hesitant about this show. And I think it's because I didn't like Falcon Winter Soldier as much as I really wanted to like it.
Gotcha.
And so I think I hope that this fixes some of the issues I felt like Falcon the Winter Soldier had, which is that it could have been a movie, and I think that would have been enough.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it distracted from all like the really great. There's like really good scenes in Falcon Winter Soldier. And there's a lot of just like, and so I was worried because I knew this would be a similar tone, that it would like.
Yes.
So I think it's the trauma of that. No, I should say that.
Yeah, and I agree completely because so the big difference I see with this and Falcon Winter Soldier was really relying on the buddy cop thing between, of course, Bucky and Sam, right? They're really relying on that. And they had some larger issues at play they also wanted to address, right? And so I think that's where that faltered a little bit. This one, I think what I hope it's going, if it stays on the path of it being a spy thriller, so every episode we're dealing with some type of, covert operation, getting us to that end goal. Very much like a Jack Ryan type of or TV series, or Jack Reacher type of TV series, a little bit darker or like with more, fantasy or sci-fi elements, then I think it's going to do well to stick the landing. It's just going to depend on also how marvelly it gets, right? Like how interconnected is it? Because that's one of the things that when people talked about Guardians 3 about how much they loved it, and they always go back to it doesn't have to rely on the bigger picture for the Marvel universe, but this does, right? Because we know that part of it's going to play into the Marvels, part of it's going to play into Captain America: Brave New World. So are they going to do a good balance where that stuff isn't going to end up overtaking the overall just central plot of this show? So that's what I'm really interested to see if that's going to happen.
So I guess question for you in chat, and I don't know what like the wider, like I don't know anything about like what phases and stuff where I'm just like watching them continue because they don't ever end for me. But do you feel like this is like the precursor, like the pre-crisis right now, like sort of like our setup to like what's gonna, because you said like Kree-Skrull War. Do you feel like this is just like, are they saying this is the beginning of the next phase? Because it feels like this would be the natural transition time, because we had the multiverse time, so it feels like now we're like,
I don't if I remember, I think this is right in the middle of the current phase that we're in right now.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it does, because it does feel like it would be a good turning point, right? Because I think that this new phase we're in started with Quantumania. So it's really weird because Quantumania and this
because never mind, because of what's his face?
Drush of Kang. Kang. But it's weird because these don't have anything in common. Huh?
Yeah, I just like, it's like I totally forgot about Kang because this feels so different.
Oh yeah, it's completely different, and it has nothing to do with the multiverse. It has nothing to do with anything overarching, and it's just while Ant-Man's wondering if everything's taken care of at the end of Quantumania, he's like, he's gone, right? We did good, and then it just ends.
Hilarious.
Like God, like
man, that's gonna be really interesting to balance. I didn't even think about that because
I feel like these are two competing things going on. We have Skrulls, and then we have this overarching mega villain that's coming in. I think we'll see what happens. I don't know.
We're just got you know what? There's a ton of them. You can just cast it.
Exactly, that's true. Yes, we'll see how his first court date goes. That's coming up, or it already happened, and I guess whatever. It's moving on, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm interested to see how this plays into the larger picture. And obviously Loki probably won't deal with this stuff at all, right? It's going to go back. So I can see if I was a casual fan, I'd get very confused very quickly with all this stuff.
Yeah, because like, because almost it feels like there should be two like parallel but not really crossing things where you have like more of your like Kree-Skrull War, like cosmic stuff potentially, and then Kang stuff. Then just because man, there's so much still, because like I can't even think through it all now.
Yeah, there's a lot there. Masoom was saying, I kind of am very scared of how the treatment goes. At the end of the day, Puss in I Love spy shows and movies often resort to some very harmful stereotypes. You're right. I mean, I've seen Extraction and Extraction 2 and other shows and movies like that, and hopefully given what Disney's been trying to do and what Marvel's been trying to do, that won't be the case. But I don't know. We'll have to see what they end up doing at the end of the day. Yeah, I always am mindful watching, like, how do they portray certain characters in certain roles? So I'll be interested to see what they do. But that's a good point to bring up.
Or is this like are they going to have the Kree or the Skrulls be like a metaphor for a certain population? And then we have to like realize,
Exactly. Yes. Sometimes they can be a little on the nose about that stuff too. So we'll see what they're doing that. And what has Silhouette said? It said Kang's whole thing might be universal, conquering through complete control over all life and events. And the Kree-Skrull War upsets that.
Okay, that would work.
Okay, so you could see two competing storylines kind of going the same place, because it feels like to me what we're setting up is this Kree-Skrull, or this Lisa Skrulls, right, is a very grounded event. That's what I got out of this episode. We are on the ground. It is, while there is obviously, we're talking about aliens because they're Skrulls, but they're still, it's definitely not cosmic in the grand sense of like Guardians, right? It does not feel like that at all. This feels like we're on the ground fighting like it feels like a, Mission Impossible-esque type of scenario.
Yeah.
In a lot of sense. So they are trying to keep this more grounded in our world instead of out in the cosmic area, which is where you'd expect all this to take place. Because even Captain Marvel, while she was on Earth in the movie, they fight in space at the end of the day, and they fight, the great intelligence, and it's all very cosmic-y. So this is much more grounded, unless they go off in a completely 180 direction by the end of the series. Who knows? Yeah, but we'll see.
I mean, maybe at the end, like everyone, we're all gonna fight. They're all like band together to fight Kang. That'd be cool. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see all these people take their shot at fighting Kang at some point. Maybe. Well, whoever's left, I don't know.
Depends no on idea. And then at the same time, there's that probably Young Avengers timeline that's eventually going to happen, I guess.
I'm still waiting for Iron Lad. I can't wait. Everyone in the chat knows my affinity for the actor who played Harley in Iron Man 3 being Iron Lad one day. One day that'll happen. He's getting older now, so we have to do it.
They're going to have to figure it out. Well, all of these, I'm like, listen. Yeah.
I know.
Y'all gonna have to go and make him. You gotta start shooting this movie now. Everyone still works together.
Oh, they can't though, because everything got pushed back.
But you know what? I will wait as long as they deserve. They should like the higher ups need to figure their stuff out. Not just for us as fans. I want them to get their buck. I want them to get their due.
Yes, exactly.
And I never want Heroes to happen again because that was too heartbreaking.
That was a tragedy.
Luckily, I didn't watch Lost, so I didn't know anything about that. But Heroes, I did.
Yeah, Heroes was disappointing. So another thing I wanted to bring up that I actually really liked the score for this episode. I like the opening credits score. Yeah. It sticks with me, and I can't recall like other scores from other TV shows and stuff. For some reason, this one does stick with me. Maybe I don't know what it is, but I could remember this score after all is said and done. And I've watched the episode twice, and sometimes the music doesn't speak to me. Like if it's good, like the Avengers score when you hear it, right? When they're going to be on screen, or when Diana's going to show up in a DCU movie. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's misplaced, sometimes it works well, but yeah, I really liked the score for this. For some reason, it really stuck out to me. So I'm kind of glad about that, because sometimes I feel like scores can make or break a show or a movie. So I really did like that.
Yeah. So I was looking away because I was like, I'm gonna look up what else this person's done. Looks like the overall composer was Chris Bowers. He's done he did the music for Raising Dion, which I love. As underrated superhero show.
It is a very underrated, yeah.
Some Star Trek. Bridgerton.
I don't remember the music of Bridgerton, but I do like Regé Jean Page. That guy.
As we all do.
As we all do. Yes.
It looks like he's doing some work on Haunted Mansion, The Color Purple coming up. So.
Oh yeah, that's the movie adaptation, right? Because Haley Bailey is also starring in that.
Yeah, it's like the musical movie adaptation. Yeah.
Yes. Ugh, it's so crazy. Yeah. It's an adaptation. All right. Silhouetted Animator. Thank you for super chat. After Kang, I hope the aftermath of phase 6 will set up a slight timeline change. No branch, millennia in the past, mutants, and the birth of Apocalypse.
That would be cool.
That would be really cool. And I think that's where we're going to really get our mutants, is gonna be phase 6, because they have so much planned out now. We'll get I keep thinking we're getting cameos of mutants, but it won't be until after Secret Wars, and then bam, obviously we know Ms. Marvel's a mutant, and I know they've already started to tie that into the comics, right?
Yeah.
So I think that we're gonna start seeing it little bit, and then after Secret Wars.
Probably some with Deadpool now that's.
Oh, yeah, of course. Deadpool's now in canon. And it makes sense because we have all this stuff with the Secret Wars. But I think the mutants would be like a good, like, this is our next phase. Let's move on.
Yeah. Like, hey, guys, don't worry. We're taking them over.
Yep.
I know that they tried several times, but We can make it happen for you.
We can make it happen. And Scotty G, thank you for the super chat. Maddie and Amanda can't get better than this. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It's like some old school over your new reader. Except we're talking about movies and TV shows.
It feels nice. It's less stressful. I can see why you like it.
Yeah, it is.
Even though I still feel like I was like, I don't know how to give you a synopsis of this. But still, I'm just like, oh, this is...
It does take a little bit less time to get through. You're just like, I gotta watch just one episode. This is good. You know, unless it's going to be like a crazy, we need to rank these movies. And if you want to rewatch any of them, that could take some time. But
yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, that can be hard.
Even with Marvel movies, I still like, that's a struggle because some of them are they're at the same level. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special is the best one. So I can put that one on the top. For me.
Yes. I could always have more Kevin. Why do I like Kevin Bacon so much? I don't understand.
Delightful.
Exactly. Okay, before we now that we've kind of given our reviews, let's go ahead and give us our final ratings out of 10. And everyone in the chat, if you have watched Secret Invasion episode 1, please put your score in the chat. And Maddie, since you are the guest, you can go first. What is your score of Secret Invasion episode 1?
Like a 7.
7? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also what I would give.
I'm not going to know until it's done.
Yeah, I would give it a 7 as well. So I think because I don't want to give it like the best first episode because it does have some things where it can improve on, but I'm expecting as we move forward in the series, it will improve. So yeah, 2 7 out of 10 from us. What about the rest of the chat? We've got Silhouetted 8 out of 10. Very good. James also gave it 8 out of 10. David gave it 8 out of 10 as well. Tavon gave it a 9. Really liked it. Hayden 7.5. Wonderful. Blaz, would you give it 7 out of 10? Masoom gave it a 7 out of 10 as well. Griffinix 8 secrets out of 10. Nice. And then Alex 7.5. A good setup. I agree. It is a good setup. I want to see it land well because that's sometimes the failings of some of the shows is just like, so Moon Knight started out with a really good premise, but it rushed the ending and it didn't land where it was supposed to land. It had one amazing episode when they're in his mind and then it just, we got to get over. We got to finish it. So Masu, never
absolutely.
How much Marvel can mess with the finale.
Like I'm too scared to get I'm gonna watch it all, but I'm scared to get invested. But my hope is, all I can ask is that if you're gonna do this sort of like spy thriller deal, there should be a twist at the end or some sort of surprise, and you can have it be serious. It doesn't have to be quirky, but that's my wish list is that I just want to be surprised at the end.
Agree.
I want something to happen that I don't predict, and if they can do that, then I'll like it. I'm a simple woman. There's a reason why I love the first Saw movie. That's because I didn't guess the ending. That's all I want.
No one did, I think. It's crazy.
There's a reason I watch all those bad M. Night Shyamalan movies. I just want to be surprised.
Oh my gosh. Except for Last Airbender. That
didn't exist.
That has no excuse.
It's not.
Jack, thank you for super chat. What do you dislike most in the show so far? For me, maybe a little bit of the pacing, I think might have been, and I know that's because it's the first episode. So they're trying to set up, we have multiple storylines going and we're trying to set everything up. So maybe that might be an issue because where it started off really quick, right? Where we get the introduction very fast of what's going on. Prescott pretty much laid out the premise of what this show is going to focus on in his crazed discussion with Skrull Everett Ross. But then it got a little bit slower in the middle there, and then it led to the finale or the climax of the episode. So maybe the pacing for me is, I mean, obviously I've done a problem, and the acting is great. But I even like the way some of the the shots are directed, some of the cinematography, because it's very reminiscent of a lot of spy thrillers that I'm used to seeing. So I think the pacing for me. What about you, Maddie?
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at too. I think it's a pacing thing right now. Yeah, because there's not like one thing. Like the vibe isn't there for me yet. I know it will be. Mm-hmm. And that maybe because I'm not as big of a spy thriller kind of person. too. Maybe that's what's great about Marvel too, is that, and I know people don't, will complain about that, but Marvel's good at putting out so many different types of shows for so many different types of people.
Yeah.
Like, really, it's just like, they're like, hey, Marvel movies are Marvel movies. We're going to give you shows that are just all these different genres.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciate that. That means there is something for everyone. So, like, my favorite show is going to be different than somebody else's favorite show.
Yeah.
And that's really cool to me. Like, I love that gets to be everyone's experience.
No, that is really cool. And they do that. They're doing that a little bit with Star Wars too, because obviously Andor is very different from like Obi-Wan Kenobi and things like that. And so I do like that they're trying that avenue of giving something for everyone. And the shows is a good way to do that, right? Because the movies, since they have to make back a lot of money, they have to kind of appeal to a more general audience, right? So that makes sense. Let's see. Tavon said, I like She-Hulk. The finale was not satisfying. Yeah, that's where the Marvel finales are pretty much the way. The ending will be, it turns out to be, it was
we get that show too? I don't even know.
Yeah, that was exactly. Hayden said the twist for Last Airbender was taking something amazing and twisting something horrific. You're so right about that.
At least we're getting a new one, even though maybe that one, the guy playing Sokka isn't actually indigenous at all.
Is he? Because he doesn't, like, did you see the pictures? I
saw the pictures, and apparently, like, the thing that he says he's a part of, I think he's not a part of. It's like the Cherokee Nation of Kentucky or something is what it's called. And they're like, that's not real. The Cherokee Nation's like, we don't even acknowledge that. That's like a scam organization.
Oh, so, no. That's going to be interesting. I mean, the kid
who... But that's not the showrunner's fault.
Exactly. They did the best they could. But I mean, the kid that plays Aang looks like Aang, right? So, I think it's good. Yeah, Griffin X. Amanda will be reading this each week or wait till it's finished. So I'll probably wait until, since only 6 episodes. I'll probably wait till it's finished and then do a big series wrap up to see. Obviously, we talked, and Maddie should be on that because she got to review the first episode. She'll join us for the finale, and we can kind of talk about, we talked about what we're hoping to see, right, on this episode.
Yeah.
So then we can, do the review of the whole season and say, did it meet what we were expecting? Did it exceed what we were expecting? Yeah. We're so curious to see where this is going because it has been a minute since a Marvel show's come out, and the stuff in theaters has been hit or miss depending on who you are and what you like. So I will be interested to see how this one turns out at the end of the day. So we'll definitely be reviewing it by the end of it. But next week, we're probably going to do a Black Mirror review.
Hey, I would not be mad.
Because that sounds like fun. Because we have nothing coming out this weekend. And then Indiana Jones doesn't come out until next Friday. So, yes. Which I am very excited to see Harrison Ford's last outing as Indy. I'm not going to lie. That's going to be very exciting. Let me see. Tavon said that he gave it a 9 because it's set up well and I'm intrigued of where it's going to go. Hey, I agree with that. Yeah, very intrigued by where it's going to go. And I'll be interested to see how the characterization of Gaia and what that turns out with her. Like I said, there's a lot of places this can go. I really want to know what's going to happen to the president because now that I realize that Kevin Feige said Thunderbolt Ross was going to become president, what's going to happen to this guy? I can't, I thought I could
he's, 3 options. Gets voted out, dies, is a Skrull.
Yeah, one of those, either way he's gone, right? Assume I'm having the Sherlock problem. That show kept telling us Sherlock is the best. Similarly, I have never seen Fury be a good spy or an intelligent one that I don't miss what I didn't see. Okay. That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, we always were told that Nick Fury was the spy of spies, right? But since he never had his own movie, never had his own, really time to shine, because even in Winter Soldier, he was kind of taken out of commission, right?
Yeah.
Early on. So, yeah, I can see where you're coming at with the Sherlock problem. Yeah.
Well, because we don't really get to see much of it until like Captain Marvel, like as far as as somebody doing things.
Exactly, and not just showing up as a cameo to start bringing the gang together, right? Exactly. Let's see. Cullen, are we supposed to believe Ross has been replaced, a la the dude who had his memory stolen, or just impersonated? I don't know. That's a good question, Colin. They may, because where would he be right now? Because obviously that Everett Ross was communicating with Maria Hill. So now it leads me to believe, has he been a Skrull this whole time, and is his actual body hanging out at the Moscow Skrull compound in one of those pods? You bring up a very good point. I don't know. I guess we're going to have to see what happens as the show progresses, if he shows up again, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where that's where it's really going to play a bit. James is asking, Maddie, how do you feel about the One Piece trailer? To me, it looks great.
I really liked it. I'm pretty hopeful about things. The casting is good. Like, they're really into the characters. The people have really studied the manga and the outfits and stuff. The ships look incredible. And the creators behind it. And so I'm just putting my faith in him. And we'll see what happens. And plus, I like the actors playing Luffy, because I watched the other, like, maybe you watched it, Amanda. If somebody other than me watched it, it would be you. What? Where they're like kids, teenagers with like superpowers by accident. It's like a Beast Boy type of character. Not Misfits. It's a different one. I know. There's another one.
There's another one?
But the guy who plays Luffy in One Piece is also in this other show. James will probably know. Where he's like a chupacabra. They were like experimented on as kids, and now like they have these abilities.
Huh. Well, I'm about to look him up and see who he is supposed to be.
Yeah, the show's good to Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, I like the trailer. I mean, I've never read One Piece or seen the anime, though.
Well, see, that would be more fun to get your opinion. Somebody has no idea.
The Imperfects, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I've never watched it, but my dad and my sister did, and they told me I should watch it. So
and once I watched that, I saw he was cast. I was like, he'll be good. Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, he's not bad to look at. So okay, I'm good with that. All right, so we are at 9:00. So I know a couple of you brought up the fact that Marvel will not be at Comic-Con this year, San Diego, and neither will Universal or HBO. And I wonder how many people are going to follow suit, because
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, well, to be fair, they can't really announce shows or movies because, things have been delayed. And if the actors do go on strike, if they don't come into an agreement, then they're not allowed to promote. That is one of those stipulations as per the strike. So promotion, of course, production would stop on anything. So anything that Ryan Reynolds has been doing for Deadpool, that would be just done. So I think they're not taking their chances. So San Diego, for the first time, might be more about comics than it is about the movies and TV shows.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, no, it's so crazy. You might actually be able to get in and see stuff. I mean, they'll have like the booths and stuff. I know Marvel still has a booth there, like they usually do, but they won't have a presence. And that could be because Marvel sat out a number of years too, so they did all their stuff at D23. So there could be that.
Yeah, it could be like I'd imagine I could see a future where like every year we used to have E3, right? Entertainment, electronic expo. And now we're not having that. And all these groups just having their own thing, their own summits or their own announcements separately. And I wouldn't be surprised because you have D3. So like, why?
Yeah.
You don't need to go elsewhere anymore.
You don't. Exactly. And I know that DC had their own fandoms now, right? So they don't need to whatever that is. I don't know if they're still doing it now that they have a new CEO under Zaslav, but
who knows?
We'll see. But they need all they can get right now to hype up their films, to be honest. They need
Lord, yes.
Yeah, because the poor Flash. Yes, I wish I'm going to go back and find, so the recording of our last episode we did when we were ranking our summer movies, and Omar told me that the Flash is going to make more money than Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And I said, no.
Hilarious. That's the
I'm going to find that, and I'm going to use that clip every time you try to tell me something. I said, there's no way. He's like, no, because, adults don't go see. I was like, it's Spider-Man.
Everyone is going to go see. No one's seeing the Flash. Everyone's seeing Spider-Man.
Trust me when I say, when I got the numbers for the Flash opening weekend. I was like, Omar, I don't want to ruin your trip, but I just want to let you know.
And I listen, you know, I will always see so many movies in theaters. I will be watching that on someone's Plex. I will not be supporting it with my money. Sorry, Juicy.
Yes. Now I will go see Blue Beetle though, because
I've
been waiting for Blue Beetle, and Xolo is fantastic.
Yeah.
Jaime Reyes is my guy, so I will definitely be seeing that. And we know now it is part of the DCU. Corey and James Gunn. It's the first.
I'm ready. Movie. Give me the changes. Let's go.
Me too. Let's go. Let's go ahead. So awesome. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up for tonight. But we'll be back next week, and we'll do some Black Mirror.
Yeah.
So if you guys haven't watched, I think is it season 6 already, or is season?
Yeah, season 6.
Crap. Yes, I think it's only like 3 or 4 episodes. If you haven't watched them, go ahead and watch them, and then come and see our review of them, because we'll probably have a lot to say.
So much to say.
Yes, I already have so much to say on the first episode. I can't even imagine after we get to like the next few of them. But awesome. All right. So Maddie, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And everyone, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Remember to follow us on all of our social media channels at nearmintcon. Remember, check us out on Spreadshop for some great near mint condition merchandise. And also check us out on Patreon for $1 a month or more. You can get some really cool stuff from the channel, and also support us in everything that we do here. And last but not least, if it's classy and cool, it must be near mint. Good journey till all are one. You all know the drill. We will see you all next week. Bye, everyone. Have a great rest of your week. And hey, Maddie, you'll be on the live, right? On Saturday, correct?
Yeah. Tina,
yes. So make sure to check out Maddie and Tina on the live at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. Bye, everyone.
Bye.